You have to believe me when I tell you that I am more techno-utopian than techno-dystopian. But I'm not willing to ignore the facts, and I'm not willing to ignore studies like the ones from McKinsey that put AI and automation at displacing 300 million jobs by 2030. Actually, there's more recent studies behind that book that go between 400 and 800 million jobs displaced by AI. If we look at the World Economic Forum, they have it put at AI being able to create 69 million jobs in 2027, but also leading to a reduction of 83 million. So we know that there is going to be a reduction of human labour in the workforce. We know that we are going to have a society that is underpinned by AI. The problem with that is that our participation within society is we are compensated for our participation in the labour workforce. And if that's going to change, then we need to think about how we change our whole socioeconomic systems in order to accommodate for that. And technology always shifts our participation. We can look at that from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution. We went from 80% agriculture jobs, and that went down to 10-20% within the space of 50 years. And we did a lot of things to be able to accommodate for that. We had to build schools to be able to take people from an agricultural mindset to an industrial mindset. The problem is we're not actually educating people about how to participate in a digital society. We're actually giving them an industrial education and telling them to participate in a digital world. And that's really problematic, because if we look at our industrial education systems, we had three grand narratives. You had capitalism, you had communism, and you had fascism. And those were the economic models. Those were the stories that we all bought into to be able to go and participate in the industrial world. But those aren't designed for participation in a digital world. So we have to change the way that we educate people to participate in that digital space. Now, I don't actually think that a society underpinned by AI is a bad thing. What it allows you to do is to actually accommodate a much wider range of participation, because you don't need as much human labour in the workforce, which means those who are marginalised because they can't necessarily participate in that labour workforce don't necessarily get marginalised, because we can accommodate the extremes, because you don't need those people to participate to the workforce. There's no incentive for every human being to be in the workforce. In fact, it's detrimental. So that means people get to spend their time doing things that they find more meaningful or more purposeful. And that could be a lot of things that are much more human-centric. That's the things that we need to encourage in our digital society, is actually the things that make us human, because they're the things that are hardest to replicate. We shouldn't mirror our digital socioeconomic systems on our industrial socioeconomic systems. They are different. They need to have different mindsets. They need to be compensated differently. They need to operate differently. And what I want to know is how we help people with that transition. How do we help people get from point A to point B in a way that is not harmful to people in that process? And that, for me, means looking at these advancements having socially acceptable outcomes. We need to make sure that they are introduced mindfully. We need to make sure that they are regulated correctly, and that they are to the benefit of the widest range of people. As I said, progress isn't progress if it's always benefiting the same people. The biggest challenge of the Industrial Revolution and the industrial economy is it treated people like machines. It needed you to fill the gaps in machine capability. And we designed people to fill the gaps in those machine capabilities. But in a digital workforce, machine capability is able to do that. So we have to design things around human-centric principles, around the things that make us uniquely human, and there are things that are hard for machines to be able to replicate, because that's the true value that a person has in a digital society.